Hello, today's video is going to be a bit different. Instead of reviewing a specific lens, here are 5 tips and tricks for using vintage manual focus lenses. Wait for the car to go by. Tip number 5, get an adapter. None of these lenses will natively fit on any modern camera. This one, for example, has a Pentax PK mount. I don't think there are any modern cameras that use that mounting system anymore. This is an M42 screw mount, and this one is a Minolta MD mount. Minolta has since switched to a different mounting system. Pentax probably has a different mounting system. None of these have any electronics in them. There's no contacts of any kind. So you can go on Amazon or B&H Photo and pick up an adapter. These are fairly cheap. This one was probably 12 bucks. I have adapters for different types of lens mounts. This one is the PK mount, so this would go on this lens. This one is an M42 screw mount. And this is another M42 screw mount. This is the Minolta MD mount. So this one would go on this one. So you get the type of adapter you need for the lens that you have, and then the other end for whatever kind of camera body you have. These adapters are cheap because there's no electronics in them, there's no glass in them, it's just a tube. Usually metal. You probably find some plastic ones. I wouldn't get a plastic one, get a metal one. They're not that expensive. Tip number 4, get to know your lens. Where's the focus ring? Which way does it turn? Some of these lenses, infinity is on one end and the near focus is on the other end, and sometimes it's the other way around. So you have a lens on your camera, you're used to infinity being this way, and you put on a different lens and now infinity is this way. So get to know your lens so that you can focus it well. Also, where is the aperture ring on the lens? Most of them, it's here near the body of the camera. There are a few, if I can find it, the Helios has the aperture ring on the far end of the lens for some reason. I've got another lens somewhere that has that feature. I don't remember which one it was. Tip number 3, record the metadata. What is metadata? Well, that's the information that tells you things like what f-stop you were using, what was the focal length of the lens, what was the manufacturer of the lens. You might not care about these things, but occasionally you do, especially if you're reviewing a bunch of lenses and trying to keep track of which f-stop you took the pictures at so you can put them on the titles on the screen. If you don't care about it, don't worry about it. But if you do, a couple ways to do that. One way to do that is to keep a pad of paper in your camera bag and a pencil, obviously, and write down the frame number and what the settings were. That's what people used to have to do back in the days of film cameras. That's what you got to do now. The other way that I have found useful is to have a whiteboard. Nice thing about a whiteboard is that you can write on here, like this was the, let's say I was using the Helios 44-2 and I was at f2. And then I take a picture of that with a camera and then a picture of my subject, and then when I pull it into Lightroom, I have this picture in the film roll, and I can see, anything after this was the Helios 44-2 at f2. Tip number 2, don't try to be macho and do everything manual. You've already got manual focus, manual aperture. Let the camera do something. I usually put the camera on Aperture Priority and let it deal with the shutter speed. Otherwise, it's just one more thing you got to worry about. When I'm using an autofocus lens on my camera, full manual. I'm letting the camera do something, it's focusing. If I'm doing the focusing, I let the camera do something else. It's that easy. So how do you get into aperture priority? Well, most cameras will have a dial on the top. I don't have my camera here, that would have been silly. Let me go get my camera. How do you get into aperture priority? Well, it depends on the brand of camera. On a Sony, the dial on the top has an A for aperture priority, an S for shutter priority, and an M for manual. And then there's P for full, auto, everything. If you're using a Canon, I believe it's AV, and I don't know what other brands use. The labeling might be different, but look it up for your camera. That leads us to the final tip, tip number 1, focus peaking. It can be difficult when you're just looking through the viewfinder on your camera to tell if the thing is in focus or not. Even if you're looking at the screen on the back, it's hard to tell if it's in focus. But if you turn on focus peaking, you can see where things are in focus. If you watch this video, as I focus in and out, there are little red dots. Those dots indicate areas of sharpness, high contrast. That's a hint that those areas are in focus. I would tell you how to turn focus peaking on, but it differs by brand of camera, and I only have Sony. It also differs by model of camera, and I only have the A7 II here, and an A7 and an A77 II up there that I don't currently have on because I'm not trying to take video of all these lenses down here. And in fact, I'm not even sure the A77 had focus peaking. I've never tried it on that one. But you can't see that camera anyway, so I don't know why I'm looking at it. But it's up there. So, those are my top 5 tips for using vintage manual focus lenses. Working with a manual focus lens is more of an art than using an autofocus lens. There's something about using a lens where you have to focus it yourself and not rely on the camera to do that work for you. That just makes it so much more, I don't know, satisfying. So if you like this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and click the bell icon to be notified of future videos. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Instead of reviewing a specific lens, here are 5. This one has none of these lenses talk back. None of these. No, there's a car going by. None of these lenses talk back to the. Who is playing music out there?